Thank you for joining us for our first session of EDUCAUSE Demo Day featuring ITSM software solutions. My name is Jason Martin. I am a Learning Programs Manager at EDUCAUSE, and I'll be your host for this first session. As always, please use the chat to share comments and ask questions for our presenters. And if you would like to view closed captioning, you can click the Show Captions button on the bottom of the Zoom room. And now please join me in welcoming our panelists and presenter from TeamDynamix. Kaylee, over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. And hello, everyone. It is so nice to get to see in the chat how scattered we are across the globe. My name is Kaylee, like Jason said. I have the pleasure of being the AVP of Solutions Engineering at Team Dynamics, where I get to show what's the art of possible with Team Dynamics. I am no stranger to higher education. I spent over a decade working within IT support operations at Western Kentucky University and actually used Team Dynamics. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and I'm going to introduce two folks that have joined us today. So let me share and we're going to go ahead and dig on in here to it. All right. So we're going to talk about Team Dynamics, the platform, and really how we're supercharging the service desk with AI and automation. But first, like I mentioned, I want to introduce two individuals that have joined me. David Smith, the ITSM platform manager at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and a fantastic customer and power user of Team Dynamics. David, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome.
And also joining me is Leah Sauerstrom, the service portfolio lead at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as well. And Leah, would you like to introduce yourself this morning?
Did a great introduction. Thank you.
Perfect. So, what we're going to do today is first take a poll. And what we're really curious to understand, and really for me as I move through this demonstration, is to understand exactly what tool you're using today. And it really helps me to know how many Team Dynamics folks we've got in the session and kind of helps me tailor where I go in the presentation. So we're going to take a moment to have you fill out this poll here. What I will also take a moment while we wait on that and get our brains churning and waking up this morning is to tell you a little bit about why Leah and David have joined us today. We always love to come to Demo Day at EDUCAUSE. We've been doing this for many years, and it's always exciting to show off Team Dynamics and really how we've been innovative in this space for years. But to me, when I was still working in IT support operations and I had a vendor come and show me something, I thought, well, that's great, but how is it really working in the real world? And UNC Chapel Hill moved to Team Dynamics in 2024. And we're going to hear a little bit about that later, but Leah and David and crew were phenomenal, and they went live in 6 months with, and I still can't believe this, Leah, 185 service catalog items at Go Live.
We did.
And yeah, how was that? 185 service catalog items.
We were really lucky to be able to dedicate our full-time jobs to the transition. We sort of put a stop on all things previous tool, and we were able to dig in. It was a lot, but we got there. We promised we would go live with what we had, so we made it happen.
You sure did. And what I also think is amazing is how you all have grown on the automation and integration side, which we'll see a little bit of that tool today. And David has the really, in my opinion, fun job of getting to build integrations and use that side of the platform. David, what was that like going live within iPass?
I mean, it was challenging, like Leah said, to meet that demand, but we pretty much just focused on the core requirements. Getting the users in, making sure we were syncing them up in Grouper, and making sure that we would meet that deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
Yeah.
successful, so it was a win-win.
Yes. Yes, it sure was. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out this poll. I appreciate everyone's participation. And looking at the results, I will share them. So 41% of you that are viewing today are using Team Dynamics. So that is great. We have such a large crowd here. We have about 9% using ServiceNow, a little bit using other tools. And then the other category had the largest other size. But Team Dynamics there pulling out on top. So welcome, customers. We're so excited to have you. All right. So for those other half of everyone joining that maybe not is familiar with Team Dynamics, we are an incredibly robust ITSM that is AI powered and has a very rich automation layer as well. We service over 25 different industries, but as the Team Dynamics customers know, over 20 years ago, we started within higher education. We were actually built on a higher education campus, University of Ohio. So it is really our roots, and we love the fact that we get to bring together all of the different pieces of IT support operations into a single pane of glass. And with the most exciting things that I get to talk about today is how we're adding in our native AI functionality through a variety of areas within our tool, including things like conversational AI, being able to have AI functionality to help speed up that ticket triaging as well. And then when we think about things like agentic form building within iPaaS, which we'll talk about iPaaS a little bit later. When I do think about those higher ed roots, I realize that I actually need to update this slide because we actually have over 900 higher ed institutions. And this is just a sampling of the institutions that I and all of us at Team Dynamics have had the pleasure of working with, and are hopefully some of you are in the chat here. So if you see your school or institution on there, hit us up in chat and say hello. All right, so this is the last slide, I promise. Then we're going to get into the tool. We're not going to spend any more time on slides. But there are 5 trends in 2026 that we are observing and that we are looking to help solve for our customers. So one, AI-driven incident and ticket resolution, right? I would think that that was one of the most exciting, I know for me, all those years that I worked in the service desk, that I wish that I had when I was still doing that. And so being able to open up a ticket and have auto summaries of the most recent history that's happened with it, or being able to use field value suggestions to be able to help speed up those triaging, which you'll see here in a little bit. Being able to use virtual agents paired with automation. So when we think about conversational AI, we offer a virtual service agent. We'll talk about that. I'll show it to you a little bit to be able to shift left the support back to our campus community to be able to kickstart the services and get the information they need and really help deflect those mundane or toil type automations or actions that you all maybe have had to do manually, and being able to bring that to the forefront to their fingers to be able to kickstart and get that service way sooner. Being able to use automated workflow orchestration. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. And when I show you an example of being able to use that virtual support agent there, we'll see how Team Dynamics can use workflows to help you not only handle the actual process of things like approvals or tasks or those notifications you want to be sent multiple times when you were waiting for that approval within the workflow. Another trend that we continue to see is the one-stop shop mentality. So it's looking at the entire campus ecosystem, bringing together all of those service groups into one tool. And that is what Team Dynamics is so good at being, is that single pane of glass. And then also being able to bring together the ITSM functionality and deep and rich IT asset management, so software asset management to understand the license that you have across campus. And it's not just what you have installed across faculty, staff, or student devices, but the actual usage, the device usage, the lab usage. And so we really have a great solution for that as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the tool here. So we are currently looking at what is called the TeamDynamix Client Portal. And for those of you that are customers, you are very familiar with the Client Portal. And this is where we see our customers be successful with this one-stop shop mentality of being able to have one place where no matter who you are on campus, you can come to be able to search the knowledge base or browse services, or even being able to have landing pages that are specific to departments and allow them to show unique and specific information about their area, or even direct them to, I don't know, dashboards to help the campus community get transparency into what that department is doing and metrics and information about what you're accomplishing. And so here's an example where I've got a human resources landing page where I'm showing information about where we're at with the recruitment status to be able to share how quickly we're moving through backfilling those positions there. And I actually want to pause here for just a moment. When we think about how easy it is to be able to bring in those other service groups, Leah, I wanted to pause and have you speak a little bit about what your experience has been like building in the portal, and then maybe kind of future plans that you have as you lay that road work to being able to bring over other groups that are outside of IT, or what I like to say IT adjacent in these days.
We made a very clear decision up front that we were going to have one portal and start with one portal and try to stay with one portal as best we could. We made a decision that if a business need arose that could really justify the upkeep of another portal, that we would be open to that. So far, we have not had that at all. And same with ticketing applications. Up until maybe a month ago, we've only had one ticketing application. We just opened up a second one for our ITS HR group, simply because it is HR, it's sensitive, and we didn't want information open to everyone. But as far as building in the portal, we do most of our build on the admin side, and it's pretty what you see is what you get. It's pretty simple, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And I am super excited to see HR get settled in TeamDynamix. So let's talk about some of that functionality when it comes to AI and how we're really shifting that service left. So what I've done here is I've opened up our virtual service agent. We are using what is called the web chat channel. So it's being able to either put it on your TeamDynamix portal, put it on your .edu website, put it on your intranet, but we don't just have that web chat channel. You actually can have as many channels as you need. And one of the things that I love getting to work with customers most recently is how Teams has taken, the messaging systems by fire across institutions. So we also have a Teams channel. So if your campus community is used to being in Teams, great. They can do these exact same things there. If you use Slack, you can do it there. We have SMS, we have social media as well. And when we think about that virtual service agent, one of the things that's really unique with TeamDynamix is the identity management being able to understand who is actually authenticated. And so in this scenario, I'm going to pretend that I'm Susie, I'm a staff member, I happen to be signed into the portal. But if I wasn't, at any point that I'm interacting with the virtual service agent, it would ask me to sign in. And then I have that strong authentication and security to then be able to give more consultative responses or being able to make sure we have security in what we're kicking off as far as automations go. And so in this case, I actually am having automations look at all of our problem tickets and immediately report back to the user to say, hey, we're actually experiencing this issue right now. Are you reaching out about that? And if they are, it can create a ticket for them automatically, wrap it up as a child ticket to that problem ticket, and allow for that easy and quick tracking. But I also can simply just come in here and just freeform. I can talk, and this is very configurable as well. So just because I've chosen to set it up this way for demo purposes doesn't mean that it has to look this way for users as well. Now, in this case, I'm going to ask a question for a process that I know for me, for all those years in the service desk, was very manual, and that is managing Active Directory groups. And when I was doing it, you'd have to call into the service desk. Somebody would have to hopefully say something that was close enough for us to understand it was Active Directory group they wanted to get added to. And then we would create a ticket. We'd send it over to the sysadmin. We would then have to wait for approvals from the manager. And we use TeamDynamix workflows for that. to kick off approvals and kick off those tasks. And then once the approvals were happen, we manually had to get added, and then we reached out to the user to let them know. And so one of the things that I've loved seeing our customers do is creating the virtual service agent to be able to do a task like add someone to Active Directory. So I'm going to say something like, can you add me to a group? And using that natural language algorithm to then analyze what that user is saying in their typical language, right? They don't have to come in and say 80 group and be official with the lingo in there. And I can just simply say whatever culturally at the institution makes sense. I know at WKU it was often folder. Can you add me to a folder? And so in this case, I have asked it to ask me what group. So I'm just going to pick the first one here. I'm going to say human resources. Now, in this case, we don't want to just let anybody come in, even if they're authenticated, and have permission to just get into that group. So we want to, one, create a ticket for history, but we also want a ticket to be able to assist us when it comes to the process of approvals. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I do want to make sure that this happens. And what it's doing in the background is automatically creating that ticket, getting me a workflow, and then I'm going to be able to process those approvals and then use iPass to be able to kickstart that automation to get them added into the group automatically. So let's flip on over there into the internal portion of TeamDynamix and talk about what it's like as a technician. And you can also see that ticket is right there. I actually didn't even need to copy that ticket number. It's already on my dashboard. So when we think about the dashboard functionality in TeamDynamix, you have a single pane of glass where you can bring ticket information, project information, all of your tasks into a unified view. And Leah and I were talking about the different dashboards that they leverage there at UNC Chapel Hill. And I'd love, Leah, for you to talk for just a moment about kind of what information you've brought together on the dashboard to help empower your technicians and IT users.
Sure. So we push dashboards to every agent, two specifically. One is a dashboard for agents, one is a dashboard for groups. And basically you have a whole dashboard of my work, my open work, my resolved tickets, what do I have to worry about today and this week? And we have, I don't know, maybe 10 different reports in just like this, right? You have some pie graphs, you have some lists, you have some bar graphs. And then for groups, it's a little bit more intended for managers so that they can see what everyone on their teams are doing at the same time. Even I can look at what my team is doing, even though I'm not a manager, I'm a individual contributor, but I can see what my colleagues are doing. If I need to know if David's working on a ticket I submitted, I can pull up my dashboard for groups and take a look at his tickets very easily. So again, we have sort of all what you're seeing here. You see a pie graph, a bar graph, you see a list view, and you see it has the ticket number, and you can customize those reports as to the fields that you want to see and where you want them. Dashboards are pretty cool. You can really move things all about and create views of whatever it is that you're interested in seeing. I know I do my work a little bit differently than what the agent dashboard provides, so I can create my own and I can switch the way you've seen Kaylee switch between the dashboards. I have my own that I've created for the way I like to do work.
Yeah. And that is something that I know I enjoyed when I was a user in the service desk was you all have to wear so many different hats, right? Like at one point you're doing a support ticket, maybe you're doing a task on a project, maybe you also help with change management processes and you need to jump into that work. And so we don't limit you on how many dashboards you can have, and you can bring asset information, knowledge-based information, ticket, project, whatever you're tracking in TeamDynamix into that single pane of glass there. So let's actually jump back into our dashboard we looked at originally, and let's talk about that ticket that we had come in here that has the automations as well from that conversational ticket that we created as the staff member. And then we're also going to take a look at a ticket that's come in by email. So let's actually take a look at that ticket that's come in by email real quick. We'll talk about how we can have triaging functionality using our native AI capabilities to help speed up that process. And so when I open up this ticket here, I've got a nice slide out. I can see who it is. I can open up a ticket summary where it's going to take a look at that recent history and give me information about it. Now, in this scenario, nothing's happened. We got this ticket in by an email monitor. We got a nice summary of everything that's going on with it, but nothing has been recent here. As the ticket progresses and technicians come in and out, we're going to be able to see that summary there quickly for them, so they don't have to like scroll through a history feed to see everything that's there. Now, when we think about how we're helping speed up triaging, that number one trend that we've seen in 2026 so far is our ticket support agent. It's a nice slide out that comes out from the side that then has the ability to look across all of your knowledge in your knowledge base, at your website, wherever you want to point it, Word documents, PDFs on a shared drive, and also being able to look at ticket history and help you understand similar tickets that might be a part and associated with what is going on with this one. So just like with the virtual service agent that I said earlier, that isn't just about kicking off tasks, but it's also about being able to just instantly give answers back to users by crawling that knowledge, ticket history, like I said, pointing to your .edu website with FAQs. It's happening here as well. And what it's helping technicians be able to do is to be able to get that automatically generated response and being able to help speed up those next steps, help them know kind of where to go. And what we're seeing with our customers is that anywhere, depending on the use case, it's speeding up that triaging from like 30 to 60%. And I love to think about Bowdoin College when it comes to conversational AI. They are truly a leader. And over 60% of ticket deflection of those mundane type toil tasks, like the Active Directory group, happen through that virtual service agent. And so Bowdoin College has been able to then say, okay, those technicians have more freed up time to then really focus in on what's most important and not having to do password resets, not having to tell them the hours of the computer lab, right? Or being able to get access to a software and help provision that license. Now, when we think about other functionality to help speed up that process, if I were to come in and start to triage this ticket, and let's say that it comes in and now I need to categorize it, or I'm a technician and I'm creating a new ticket. This is really how we also help speed up onboarding time. If in your support operations, you have a lot of student worker positions and you kind of turnover, just the natural way that those positions work, we've got those suggestions that are helping us know what are the key places that I need to change to categorize it properly. And it's looking at the patterns in the history of how you have logged and how you have managed your tickets to help speed up that process for technicians. Now, I'm going to jump on into that ticket that was created by conversational AI. And what you can see is it got a nice summarization of the title here of the ticket for me. It's kickstarted that workflow, which I'll show here in just a moment. I've got that chat transcript associated. And then it's also summarizing the entire conversation. So if I had been asking questions and maybe had gotten a couple things solved, it's also going to give the context back to the technician of everything that that user was really needing at the time. Now, I mentioned earlier that some of your hearts probably dropped when I said, oh, just willy-nilly add them in Active Directory when they come to the virtual service agent. But what we've really done here is kicked off a workflow to help with that process here. And so what we're looking at with this workflow is we first have a security approval that's going out here. And then it's reaching out once it gets that approval to the automation and integration side, iPaaS, of what we offer, and automatically getting them added into Active Directory. I'm going to go ahead and approve this, pretend I am security here this morning. And then once I've approved it, all of those automations are happening. And in fact, I'm just going to refresh here. And behind the scenes, it literally connected to a dummy instance of Active Directory that we have. And Susie, in all my time of demoing, has come in and out of that quite a lot lately. And it's automatically closed out this ticket. It's gotten Susie added to it. And we've also tracked within the feed here everything that's happened. So it's easy to be able to audit and go back and take a look at it. But I now want to come on over into that more advanced automation and integration side. And I want to talk a little bit about it. And I want David to speak on a really interesting and unique use case that they have with X Matters. So when we think about our iPaaS side, it's not just that if you have a service request process where you might want to kick on over and engage third-party systems to be able to have those actions. You also can use iPaaS as its own standalone entity where you have the ability to have automations kick off on schedule. So maybe you're trying to sync data between systems. You have the ability to be able to monitor solutions, monitor webhooks, monitor actions. And in this example that I'm showing you in iPaaS, we're actually monitoring an HRS system. And as soon as we see a user get created and become active in that as an employee, we're then automatically engaging a variety of systems. So we're creating that user in Active Directory. We're sending the manager a dynamic form, asking them questions about what this employee is going to need. And based on that information, we might add them to particular groups. We might provision them particular licensing. And really, the sky is the limit within this drag and drop builder to be able to at any time decide what action you want to take, what data you need to manipulate or be able to transform to be able to send somewhere. And we have a rich and robust API connection-based library of out-of-the-box connectors, but you also can create your own connectors. We don't limit you in any way. You can have as many connectors as you like. You can enjoy the hundreds and hundreds of connectors that we've created for our higher education customers through the years. And when we think about other use cases of that, I'm going to pull up just a really small example. Then I want to pass on over to David to talk about their use case with X Matters. But here's an example where we're listening to a system that might be sending out an event alert. A server goes down, a platform is not running correctly, and we send out that event alert. And maybe we want to engage other platforms like on-call platforms or send out an email through the flow. And so I think it sets us up really well, David. I'd love for you to talk about your use case with X Matters, and feel free to share your screen too if you want to show us some of your diagrams as well.
Sure. If you can, I just sent a request to share. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to just show is the grouper. We are using grouper cross campus with our ID management team, and that is our primary application that we're using for keeping all user information up to sync with specific departments. We run a sync so that Leah's team and my team, we don't have to go ahead and add members to the groups. This is automated by the group administrator. It runs at 3 a.m. and 11 a.m. And basically what we're doing is we're reaching out to grouper and LDAP through the TDX proxy service, pulling it into iPaaS, and then we're adding and removing users as we see them appear in grouper. And the nice thing about that is grouper uses a thing called group math. So as somebody leaves the department and leaves the university, after 2 or 3 days, we notice that we're going to remove them from the group in TDX. Somebody moves over to a different department under a different department number. We do the same thing. We move that over and we tie that into the ticketing application. We also set the dashboards that Leah pointed out. Once they're added to a group, we know that this person has a specific role, a security application role, and which applications within ticketing they have access to: asset, ticketing, project, and we go ahead and configure those all at the same time once we add them to the group. And this is just an overview of the flow. Here is basically our grouper application flow. And I pulled up one of the run histories just to kind of show you. Basically, we loop through about 230 groups. And we just loop through those and identify whether or not there's someone needs to be added or removed. Oops, I'm showing the TDX one. Here's the grouper one. So this is where we step through, we look at their PIDs, and then we'll go through for each one, we'll go through each process and see if there is someone that needs to be added. And if there's a false, it keeps cycling through and goes to the next group until it finds a member that needs to be added from grouper, but doesn't exist in TDX. And then just to switch over, since I know Kayla was talking about X Matters, we use X Matters across campus for our operations center, and that's for reaching out to on-call system administrators when there's a major incident or somebody needs to be contacted because a service has become unresponsive. And this is what we've basically done is we've tied this in to, let me bring up the overview just to kind of give you a better idea. So we have a document that we share out to all of campus. So basically using the X Matters app, what we're doing in iPaaS is if the responsibility group has changed, and what we'll do is we'll send an alert based on the flow that's in X Matters on who's on call. It sends that alert out. A lot of our system administrators are using the X Matters app. They'll acknowledge it. That comes back through iPaaS, through the connectors that Kayla talked about that we built out, and it will automatically acknowledge it. And it will appear as something like ticket acknowledge via X Matters by David Smith, whoever the agent was. And then for setting the responsible agent, anytime a ticket updates, a responsible agent will terminate any X Matters alert if the agent takes the incident, if they acknowledge it through the X Matters app, or they add it to my work, or they edit or update the ticket. So basically, we're allowing the system administrators or the people on call to be able to work wherever they're more comfortable, but they'll also cancel the X Matters alert. And this basically talks about what triggers an X Matters alert. And basically, if they reassign the incident and the responsible group changes, it will automatically go through the process for who's on call and send out the X Matters alert.
Well,
But
David,
everything we've built out seems to work perfect.
So one of the things that I really liked, and when you were showing the grouper flow, one of the views that David was in is in a flow area that allows you to do troubleshooting. And I know that when I've worked with point-to-point integrations that have been built by developers on our campus, sometimes the troubleshooting of the hand-coded scripted point-to-point integration can be really challenging. It's kind of like plugging in a string of Christmas lights and having to go like bulb by bulb and like trying to figure out and hunt in the dark. And one of the things that iPaaS makes really easy to do is to see step by step by step every single piece of the automation and understanding the results. And so when you think about supercharging those developers on campus, or even those that we have seen within the service desk that have those deeper technical skills, being able to get self-sufficient through our training and onboarding to be able to assist and create these things. So I really appreciate you showing this view, David. This is not even planned. I was like, I get to talk about the
It,
troubleshooting option that's there.
but
Um,
Kayla, it's really helpful because you can look at the run history, see all the events. We can also add in the flow debugging, so I can look at the logs and see exactly who was added, who was removed. So
mhm,
you can go and add that within the flow. And also,
mhm.
like you said, when you're looking at the flow, look at the run history on it. And these are the flows that fall within our LDAP and X Matters
Mhm.
integration.
Perfect. And I think the final thing I think I'll say about the X Matters before we talk a little bit about CMDB and ITAM, I see you in the chat there, Brian, asking about it, so I won't forget about that question, is that we recognize that you have a myriad of systems across your technology stack. And we don't ever want our customers to feel limited in how they can integrate. We have a lovely amount of native integrations. You know, when I think about things like Intune, being able to use our native integration, synchronize everything from Intune, being able to kickstart actions to assets within there, right? So examples of how we're able to do things natively. But I think we really, truly would be a dishonest vendor as a software company if we said, we have a native integration for every tool out there, because that's impossible. And oftentimes, native integrations can be really limiting because, sure, you might get some of the functions that you need, but you might have something very unique about your campus's process. And in this scenario, you all had been using X Matters for a while prior to TeamDynamix, and you wanted to be able to support what you were already using and get it intertwined into your next solution. And so I do want to emphasize that when it comes to iPaaS, We have hundreds of out-of-the-box connectors to all of the systems that any of our customers have ever asked us to create. We continually add to those, but you would have the freedom to create a connector to any platform that has an API connection, a SQL database, an Oracle database, being able to monitor webhooks, being able to kickstart PowerShell scripts as well. So you really can have that tailored integration experience, but give people like David the power to easily manage those, being able to see the history, being able to have security in there. Because I know if I was at UNC Chapel Hill, they'd be like, Kaylee, you maybe can do like one thing in iPass, but like we're not giving you connector access to build integrations with X Matters or with Grouper. But maybe I'd get something like Zoom. I'd like to think I'd at least be allowed to integrate with Zoom there. So thank you for sharing that, David. I appreciate it. Um,
Sure.
I'm going to go back to you sharing my screen here, and we're going to talk a little bit about a couple pieces of functionality that we have here. And as Jason said, there's a poll that's come up about this session. So please, all feedback, doesn't matter, your feedback, I and TeamDynamix wants to hear it all. But I want to round us out before I kind of really pause and take a look at questions from the audience that I may have missed to talk about a couple final pieces of functionality. So what we're looking at here is one of our areas to manage assets. And to Brian's question, we have full CMDB functionality, we have deep and rich ITAM functionality. If you all are users of Sassafras, which is a leader in the education space for software asset management and hardware asset management, for being able to see software license usage, hardware usage, computer lab management, we had actually built a native integration to the Sassafras tool. I guess it was about 6 or 7 years ago now. And then through the years, we realized how many overlapping customers we had, and we were getting so many requests from our joint customers to continue to build out that functionality. So last year, we had the exciting opportunity to bring Sassafras into the TeamDynamix family of our platform. And so if you all are using Sassafras, know that you have the ability to also get this rich functionality where you can synchronize the asset records to give technicians the ability to be able to associate them with tickets, take advantage of things like change management, but also being able to synchronize the information you're tracking in there, being able to see those relationships, the software itself, and then being able to kickstart and get right on over to those devices within the deeper area to do that rich and robust analyzation of your cost analysis and your usage analytics as well. And then the last piece that I wanted to mention before I pause for those questions is the fact that it's not just about ticketing, right? And that service-based work. It's not just about the operational-based work and what I like to call the keeping the lights on based work. But it's also about the project-based work, right? Those longer-term initiatives. And you get a holistic solution where you get to do all of those within the tool as well. And so you can bring those together to be able to manage those initiatives, your portfolio, your programs. And so we obviously didn't have time to dive super deep into that because I want to get to questions, but you've got the flexibility to manage projects in an agile fashion or in a waterfall traditional style fashion, and even mix and mingle those two types of styles in the same project as well. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing here so I can kind of see some faces and see some questions. And one of the most recent ones from Jennifer, are there any pre-built integrations between TDX and LabStats? That is a great question. Now, if LabStats has API functionality, great. We could use iPass to take a look at being able to integrate with that. But when we think about LabStat functionality and even deeper and richer functionality, that's what our customers enjoy within Sassafras that we now call TeamDynamix ITAM, so IT Asset Management. So you get all of that functionality and more within there as well. But if you choose to use TeamDynamix and you want to build out that integration, as long as we've got APIs we can hook into, we've got you covered there. Let's see what else we've got within the chat here. Feel free to put anything that you'd like within the chat, and I'm checking to see if I've missed anything. And while we wait for some of those questions to come in, while we're speaking of assets, David, do you want to take a moment to talk about your integration with Flexibly?
Sure. So we've got it's been robust for the past 15 years. It's called the Carolina Computing Initiative. And it's where we start out with, um, there it is. We give every student coming into the campus, freshman, a laptop at the start of their first semester. And we've built in a process where we are doing computer repairs and warranties for faculty, staff, and student across campus. And this is our basic process. So basically, the customer, as far as the service desk, they bring in their laptop for repair, they check it in, an incident gets created. The staff at the service desk verify that it's not a software issue. If it is a hardware issue, it goes ahead and creates a ticket. They created a ticket, which is a hardware request in TeamDynamix. And then these next rows are the tie in between Fixably, which is a cloud-based computer repair, or device repair platform that we tie into using REST APIs. And it goes ahead and creates the work order. It goes through the entire repair cycle. Once the machine's been delivered, it gets sent over to the computer repair center. Is it a warranty repair? If yes, then it follows this stream. If not, an invoice is created and the invoice is processed. We actually pass that from iPass and build out the invoice and put it into a landing zone for CBM billing. And the department either gets billed or it gets billed to the student if it's a student repair. And then once the computer has been repaired, it then gets picked up either by school of medicine or the service desk, depending on where the customer came in. And they go through the process of either dropping it off at a locker where the student is then sent through the ticket, and it would be a notification to go pick up their computer at a locker. They put in the code and they pick it up and they're all good. Same thing with the service desk. So we kind of handle both school of medicine and the service desk.
David, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's another testament to you all had a great process with Fixably. Like we don't want to pull you out of using Flexibly. There's a reason why that tool is so powerful and has worked so well for you. And that's really that happy merriment that iPass brings to our offerings is being able to get that nestled right within the ticketing area or the asset area and where you want to be able to bring those processes together. So I appreciate you sharing that, David. I know we have just a few
Sure.
more minutes here, so I'm going to cover some of those other questions. So let me clarify when it comes to what I was mentioning earlier about sassafras. So yes, so earlier last year, it was around April last year, we officially acquired sassafras and brought them into the TeamDynamix offerings. And so if you are a current sassafras customer, welcome to the TeamDynamix family. Of course, you've been working with your customer success managers, but you also have that opportunity to reach out to us and explore the other side of our offerings when it comes to our service management, the ITSM, the enterprise service management, the project and portfolio management, to leverage that as well. And what we are so excited to continue to do is to continue to take the Sassafras platform and make it as ingrained as possible into the ticketing solution. And it is all one cohesive solution now. And so that has been such a pleasure and an honor. And we have an even exciting update coming out here soon in a few weeks. And then I saw Leah, thank you for answering that question about being able to build out the service catalog. So Anil, yes, you have that ability to be able to build that out. You have a form builder that you can drag and drop to create your forms. You have a rich text editor to be able to easily create those service catalog entries and descriptions. And you actually, if you've already got a service catalog built out in your current tool and you want to be able to import those service catalogs, the services themselves, we actually have the ability to automate that. And we help onboard and transition and migrate people to being able to do that. And yes, Nick, so you are on the right track. So when it comes to pricing and how we do that, we're no nonsense. We want to make sure that it is, first of all, a predictable cost model, right? In higher education, you know that you have a strict budget, and I sending out all the good vibes. You all get all of the budget that you need. I spent many years having to to wonder what our budget was going to be, and so it is a bundled price. You don't have to worry about all the different modules and things, because I know sometimes that can be challenging in some of the tools I know that I have had to manage in the past. So we make that pricing very predictable with the lowest total cost of ownership that we can bring to our higher education space. And so with that, I think what Jason, we've got really, it's the end of our time here. Before I pass to you, I just wanted to take a second to really honor what Leah and David and UNC Chapel Hill have been able to accomplish in TeamDynamix. It was such a privilege. I was telling Leah and David this is my favorite part, to get to show off all the amazing things that you all have built and how you're supporting your campus community. So thank you both for joining me and helping me showcase TeamDynamix this morning.
Fantastic. Thank you
Our,
all. Really
our
appreciate it.
pleasure.
Just a couple of things as you all prepare for Presidio's presentation, which is starting right now. Just a reminder to join us for our next demo days, and the next one will be on March 16th, featuring data governance and data management solutions. Other than that, please, if you haven't already, take advantage of the opportunity to complete the demo session bowl that's launched. Many of you have already, though, so thank you so much, and we'll see you at the next session starting right away. Take care.
Have a great day at EDUCAUSE Demo Day. See you all.